If you're a fan of games like Dark Messiah, keep an eye on Shady Knight. An upcoming release, Shady Knight helped scratch that itch that titles like Dark Messiah left in regards to first-person melee combat. While titles like Cruelty Squad did cover some of that with its powerful kick, Shady Knight is more focused outright on the combat portion of Dark Messiah. With this portion, it takes its own twist to it with adding in some character action elements into the mix. It's a great example of an indie dev pulling a feature from a larger game and condensing it down to focus on that one aspect. I first checked out Shady Knight during one of the Steam Game Festivals in 2020, and it showed a lot of promise. The most recent Steam Game Festival had an updated demo for the game, which you could still get, and has come a long way since. It feels a lot more fluid compared to last year, and it's fast. Like, really, really fast. Maybe a bit too fast. Maybe that's just my boomer reflexes not being what they used to be. I currently have the same issue with Cruelty Squad when sometimes I'd miss the kick. Some of the default bindings are a bit weird though, like having E as the default kick as opposed to F like it is in Dark Messiah and Cruelty Squad. Climbing chains now has you holding the jump key and looking up and down to climb as opposed to before where you just jump on and move up and down. It's a weird decision that I hope gets reversed back to the default. Don't think I played a game where climbing something like this requires these key presses, and it's a bit awkward. That aside, everything else in Shady Knight is really fluid. We have the kicks, we have the spikes, we have barrels to kick or chuck at enemies, we have sliding attacks, we juggle enemies, jump kick gives us more airtime, there's fire, and there's now a bow that wasn't in the previous iteration of the game, which is really satisfying to use. We can now slide to grab a weapon on the ground, and when it works, it feels great. There's been a few times where I was playing Shady Knight where it didn't do what I wanted it to do. I found it difficult sometimes to see weapons on the ground with enemies around, so there's room for improvement there. Taking cues from Devil May Cry and Ultra Kill, there's now a scoring system, and the game pushes for more variety to get that score up, giving us the incentive to try out different things and not falling back to the same old same old. It's a great little addition that adds tons of replay value to get those higher scores. I really enjoy that Shady Knight has taken elements of character action games and implemented them into its gameplay, as it's very fitting for what the game goes for. In fact, let's try some of these combat encounters with different music. In the current demo for Shady Knight, there are currently 2 enemy types, and I'm curious to see how many get added into the final game. I do think there's a potential here to give some more charm to the enemies akin to Dark Messiah with those classic guard lines.
Hey, pal! Don't try to run! Stop right there, or it gets ugly.
But again, on an indie budget, it's understandable if that's not going to be the case. I have seen some people mention about Shady Knight if the game will overstay its welcome, or if it has enough to be a lasting experience, and that's a fair concern. I feel with a couple more additions to environmental options we could use against our enemies and enemy types, I don't think that'll be an issue. With that character action influence and scoring system, it looks to be a shorter game that leaves you wanting more, but highly replayable. I talked about this in my Bayonetta video, a game that's mostly short, but incredibly replayable. And I'll take that any day of the week over games that just stretch stuff out as much as they can, with silly work just because they want to. I'm curious to see how the environments will vary throughout the course of the game. I do like the minimal color palette and design, but again, depending on how long Shady Knight ends up being, hopefully it doesn't overstay its welcome and mixes things up. I'm keeping a close eye on Shady Knight, and you should too. I look forward to seeing what the full release has in store. I look forward to seeing how it helps scratch that first-person melee combat itch that titles like Dark Messiah leave behind. Check out the demo on its Steam page and add it to your wishlist if it's something up your alley. Just a quick little video today about Shady Knight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you check out the game, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon as well. I'll have access to videos earlier. They'll be featured in these credits here. I have a weekly newsletter I send out with it. Alright everyone, Boulder Punch out.